right, partner. Let's get to it. No. Whoa.
Chuck!
What? What?
What are you doing?
Nothing. Leave me alone.
Hello and welcome to the Nerd Card. I'm Phil.
I'm Chuck.
And today we're going to be discussing Ready Player One.
That we are.
What a freaking awesome movie.
Very fun movie. Very much a nerd culture kind of movie.
Oh my God.
The
doesn't get
whole
any
movie
more.
is an homage to nerd culture.
The whole movie is one big pop culture reference.
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
the whole thing.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised that Tom Holland didn't star in it, frankly.
Hey guys, you ever seen that really old movie? Empire Strikes Back?
Well, Tom Holland, I guess Tom Holland.
Or at least
was a
Peter
thing back
Parker
then.
from the MCU could have starred in it, because that's all he does is quote the kind of stuff that is in Ready Player One.
That's exactly right. He really does. Well, he does the Empire. He does Alien. Have you seen that really old movie, Aliens? Yeah.
And all those movies are represented. In Ready Player One.
That they are. Alien specifically, Artemis's weapon of choice is the M41A pulse rifle.
I want to introduce you to a personal friend of mine. This is an M41A pulse rifle, 10 millimeter, with an over and under 30 millimeter pump action grenade launcher.
Heck yeah, it's a great weapon of choice.
It really is super cool. But there's, as we mentioned, there's so many pop culture references in it. We've got Back to the Future, Jurassic Park. There's just, it's an endless
you have
list.
Anime, you have Robotech, you have Macross, you have Gundam.
Yeah.
You have,
Oh, yeah.
if there's a pop culture nerdy thing you can think of,
It's in the movie.
it's in there.
It's absolutely
You
in the
know,
movie.
The Shining is in there.
It is.
Which is a very key part of the movie.
Prominently
actually.
featured within
Very
the movie.
prominently featured.
Hello, Danny. Come play with us.
You have all kinds of great cast. You have one of the bad guys in everything of our time, director Krennic, Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn. He's such a great bad guy.
Yeah, he plays Serranos, the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just a total. He's so good at it. He plays the despicable part, just the smooth guy that you just can't stand so well.
I mean, it's his look. He's got a very punchable face.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to Ben Mendelsohn.
No, not at all. He's a spectacular actor,
He's a
too.
really great actor. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a Netflix show, way off tangent of this, but there's a Netflix show where he gets murdered and takes place in Florida. But he continues to be in the show kind of as in flashbacks, and he's not the bad guy per se in that show.
Wait a minute. Murdered in Florida. That wouldn't have been Dexter, would it?
No, actually, he's not a victim. Not a victim of Dexter Morgan.
Surprise, motherfucker.
But it's again, he plays that part really well.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
And it's a fun show. I mean, it even has our some of our old nerd friends like Simon Pegg.
Yes,
in
yes, indeed. And he's great in it.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about Simon Pegg in this particular movie is he has an American accent.
And?
Every time I see him with an American accent, it throws me off.
Well, he does
because
play two parts though.
That's true. He does. And the other one, he has his regular British accent.
Oh, joy.
Well, it's probably not even his regular British accent.
But it's
a
not,
British
yeah.
accent,
It's
right?
not. I didn't recognize it as him.
Yeah,
But he does a great job in the movie as well.
he does. He's fantastic.
He's a very integral part, as a matter of fact.
He is.
Now, what really struck me watching it, so we watched it a couple of months ago.
Yep.
Preparing to do.
I've seen it a few times.
I had never seen it before. So we watched it a couple of months ago preparing to do this episode. And then, other things happen.
Things happen.
We got some other stuff going on.
And I've watched it a few times because it is a movie go boom.
Yeah, well,
Film.
it is
100 times.
A lot
over.
of LFE.
LFE big time. When you see, the race scene in the beginning of the movie is
huge.
so cool. And it's got, not only has it got all kinds of dynamics for the home theater, it'll work out your Atmos system all day and twice on Sunday. You got the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. You got King Kong. You have the DeLorean from Back to the Future. You have Bigfoot. The car, not the creature.
Yes, Bigfoot.
You have the motorcycle from Akira. You have all kinds of these pop culture references riddled throughout. There's a Batmobile.
Well, and
in
this
the
happens
race.
in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
It all smacks you right in the face.
Yeah,
Really
it starts out with Van Halen.
Yes, it does.
As the movie opens in the future in 2040, roughly 2040. I don't have the date exactly
2045.
Yeah, so as it starts out in that time frame, in the stacks, it's basically a bunch of trailer parks stacked on top of each other in
Columbus, Ohio.
And it's the chilling thing about Ready Player One. As much as a fun movie as it is, as much as I love the movie, it's one of those near future movies that's really possible.
It's really near future. And
possible.
Actually, that's the point I was about to make. I was going to say, when I watched it again last night in preparation for doing this today, I was struck by the notion that the entire thing takes place in a virtual world, which is literally what has been announced.
Yeah, Meta.
With Meta.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool?
You.
$1 billion.
They're going to be going into that virtual world, much like the Oasis.
It's not that far off. I mean, frankly, I myself, I just got a VR helmet. It's a toy I decided I wanted to play with.
Sure.
VR, I got an HTC Vibe. And it's amazing that, the first time I put it on, it's like, that's the kind of thing. This is like, I can see this as the evolution into an Oasis type system.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, that's what really struck me watching it again last night is, wow, this ain't far off.
No, it's not. And I really like those kind of science fiction movies that are, I wouldn't call this as a hard science movie. It's just it's a realistic view. It's not like the Jetsons, right? It's not something like, unfortunately, not to rip on Back to the Future, but, Back to the Future was so aggressive in the progressions in the future.
Well, what are you talking about? What happens to us in the future? What, do we become assholes or something?
And it was stuff that's not really on the scope that we're on, or not in the scope, but on the path. This seems like dead path. I mean, this is like,
it's straight
I swear,
to it.
The dude who wrote this book, I don't know the author's name off the top of my head. I'll put it up here. The dude who wrote Ready Player One and Ready Player Two actually came out in 2020. The sequel to that book. It's like he's from the future. It's like he traveled back in time and said, hey, this is what's going to happen.
You gotta listen to me.
I got enough practical jokes for one evening. Good night, future boy.
Exactly. Now, Ready Player One, the book was written many years before.
2011.
Yeah, before the movie actually got adapted, which was 2018. And it perfectly, seriously, Meta came out 2020.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 2021.
Yeah.
My God, we lost a year. Sorry.
But it's really eerie.
Yeah.
Of how predictive this looks like it could be.
It really is.
And the Oasis looks like it could be a lot of fun, but it's a scary thought, especially what Serrano.
I wish you would fucking stop calling me that.
I'm probably saying it wrong. Sorrento. Geez, I said it wrong a few times. I have to make fun of myself.
Dumbass.
But what Sorrento, what his team, what they're doing, the people just working on credit to be able to participate in the Oasis, and they're basically economic indentured servitude.
Absolutely. The Sixers.
The Sixers, yeah, but what they're doing to all the other people.
Oh my goodness.
The shape that people are in, and everybody, all they are, it's really telling. It's an allegory for what we're doing now.
Certainly,
everybody, all they're ever doing is they're in the Oasis, just like everyone's only on their phones now.
Right. Well, like the loyalty centers where they're literally, as you said, they're indentured servants in there. They're
Yeah.
working off a debt.
Yeah.
It's almost a jail.
Yeah,
Essentially,
it is.
and it's corporate jail, which is even
Yeah.
more terrifying. But the worst part of that is you watch it and you go, well, I can see how we would get there.
Well, and it's a scary kind of a foreshadow to things that could happen in our society.
Certainly, yeah.
We do have a heavy dependence on electronics devices. Social media has become a gigantic force in this country.
Oh, without a doubt,
things like
yeah.
social credit scores, if those things were to come to pass. All these things lead towards down this path of this OASIS. And the implication is, and I haven't read the books, they're on my list to read, but the implication is that, you didn't see any of these people going to jobs.
That's a very good point.
You know what I mean? It looked like a dystopian future with a high unemployment rate, and all people do are activities in the OASIS to try to get by.
Well, not just that, but as Sorrento mentions, the OASIS is commerce.
We estimate we can sell up to 80% of an individual's visual field before inducing seizures.
It's the economy.
Well, it's the biggest company in the world. It's and that's why they really didn't want to have this in the hands of
the IOI,
of Sorrento, and getting to the point, the whole theme of the movie, their whole plot of the movie is that, the guy who invented the OASIS,
James Halliday,
Simon Pegg's partner in the movie, he passes away and he has whole ownership of the OASIS, and he leaves a bunch of Easter eggs in the OASIS so that if people can solve these riddles and these questions, that they can get
total control of the OASIS itself.
So when the movie starts off, someone had long ago, a gunter, they call them egg hunters, had found the clues, had found a clue that was the initial clue that came out, followed it, and had found the first clue of where they're going. And that's where the race is to try to complete if you complete the race, you get the first key, first of 3 keys.
Yeah.
No one completes it until our hero of the movie,
Wade,
which is how the movie starts.
Yes.
And the whole thing is that now they've made Sorrento's company has made a whole business
of trying to hunt these
down, because if you have ownership of the OASIS, that's the biggest prize in the world.
Absolutely. It's the world economy at that point that you have control over. And I'll tell you, they do it in such a really beautiful way, just presenting these ideas. It's a very intriguing story, but it's also told very visually beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful movie.
It really done well. And of course, that's a tribute to Steven Spielberg.
Well, sure.
Who is, amazing
Sure.
at everything. But one interesting note that I noticed almost immediately when we first watched it, I went, man, the music really sounds familiar. And the reason for that was it's composed by someone that normally doesn't work with Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg, for all but 3 movies of his career, has worked with one composer, and that is John Williams. You know his music from Star Wars, from Jurassic Park, from E.T., from freaking everything, right?
Right.
Well, for this particular movie, the score was done by Alan Silvestri, who you also know from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
He's responsible for that score, which is, of course, embedded in everybody's memory.
Of course.
But he does a very, very good job of presenting everything that's happening on screen. He's just spectacular.
It's got a very Back to the Future vibe with the score because of that, of course, because I'm sure it was done like that on purpose. There's a lot of callbacks
definitely.
to, especially projects that Spielberg was involved in.
Oh yeah,
of
course.
Back to the Future, Jurassic Park. You have his footprints are all over it, and
there's an Indiana Jones reference.
Yeah, and there's straight up Back to the Future music at one point.
Yeah, well, of course you're going to use that.
Zemeckis Cube.
Oh, I just bought this.
Zemeckis Cube turns everything back in time, 60 seconds.
There's straight up Back to the Future music there. But it's a very entertaining, fun movie. There's a lot of, like we said earlier, there's a lot of great characters. T.J. Miller does a really great job.
You got like a remote, or is there a button or something?
Nolan,
It's a level 99 magic artifact, not one of your drones, so it is activated by a magic spell.
Absolutely.
As
IROC.
One of the goons for the bad guy. He's kind of not necessarily even a villain. He's just a digital mercenary.
Yeah, he's a gun for hire, basically.
Yeah, basically a hacker for hire.
Yeah. Well, and when it comes right down to it, he's not on the side. He's not on the side of good. He's not on the side of bad. He's just kind of there for a paycheck.
Good, bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
He's a dude who gets you things.
Yeah, exactly. He's the
That's
guy.
what he does.
He's just that guy, which I imagine T.J. Miller might be in real life too. But,
yeah, I mean,
knows?
he's perfect for the role. He does a great job.
Yeah, he's great.
You know, when our bad guy director Krennic needs something, that's who he calls on.
Yeah.
Of course he's, Ben Mendelsohn is so egotistical in this movie. His character is that he looks like a Supermanized version of himself.
Yeah, he really
inside
complete
the
with
OASIS.
the curly Q up front. Yeah. It's very telling to his personality. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think all in all, Ready Player One is just a fun journey. It references so many pop culture things. It's a very good story, told very well, and done masterfully by the masters in the industry.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes the replayability huge, right? Because
certainly,
you can watch it over and over and over and over, and you catch something new every time.
Absolutely,
it's paced really well. It's a fun romp. You have the chase scenes, the times inside and outside the Oasis. It's a really overall nicely done piece of film.
Certainly,
and I really enjoy it. It's a movie that I'll watch again and again and again and again, and I'll learn more about it every time I do.
I will too. To that point, actually, I was watching it last night with my son, and we saw a TARDIS in there. Doctor Who, there was a TARDIS in there.
You could probably go in that final battle scene.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even talk about the Iron Giant.
Oh my God! Yeah, there's so many. We're never going to get to all.
There's
of
an
them.
Iron
There's
Giant.
So many
there's
references.
Mechagodzilla. You could go there. You could go frame by frame in that, and you could probably the count of pop culture nerd type movies that are references probably in the hundreds.
Oh, absolutely, if not the thousands. I mean
we didn't talk about any of the video games. Is because a lot of it revolves around these people who study with the.
Yeah.
You had a funny word for that.
Oogologists.
The oogologists who are studying, trying to help this. They're part of the of IOI, trying to come and win these challenges and get these 3 keys. They are studying. All of the pop culture references that the founder of the Oasis that he adored, right? So they study all the video games that he loved, all the movies that he loved, all the music that he loved, and his personal life. In fact, there's a great hall where Simon Pegg's other character lives.
The curator.
It's a great museum of this dude's life. And Simon Pegg is, in his other role in the movie, is featured prominently in it because he was his partner.
Right.
And because he downloaded all of his files from his memory before he passed, and you
directly
can watch
into this hall.
Everything as part of this giant game. He made his death a giant game.
Absolutely.
That you could then play and win a real prize in real life.
And at the very end, he says, "Thanks for playing my game," which is, of course, a reference to Nintendo 64, Super Mario 64, where if you beat that game, Mario says, "Thank you for playing my game."
Yeah, I mean, this whole movie is all nerd culture references, the whole thing from beginning to end.
It really is. I mean, seriously, we could do an hour-long episode on this particular movie and miss stuff.
Yeah.
We really could. So we're never going to get to all of it.
Right.
But it's a fun romp. Go check it out. If you have not seen it, go and watch it. It's absolutely worth watching several times over.
For sure.
With that, I will remind you to check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, Spotify, all that good stuff. We are out there. Please share it with all your nerd friends so they can join in the party too. And with that, we will say,
What's on your nerd card?